You are sitting there, in a dark corner of the room, or perhaps on that familiar chair after an unbearably long day, and the only feeling wrapping around you is emptiness. An emptiness so heavy it is no longer a void, but something solid, pressing down on your chest. You tried your best. You did everything this world asked of you. You raced deadlines, smiled while your heart was breaking, carried responsibilities that sometimes you don't even understand why they were placed on your shoulders. And then, in the rare moments when the outside world finally falls silent, you lift your heart toward the heavens, hoping for a reply, for the smallest sign that you are not alone. But what you receive is absolute silence. A silence so deep it becomes frightening, as if heaven has shut its doors, or perhaps the one you trusted has long since gone away. That feeling cuts deeply, because it makes you question yourself, whether you did something wrong, whether your exhaustion is proof of weak faith, or worse, abandonment. But I want you to take a slow, deep breath and listen to this, not with your ears, but with all the weariness lodged deep in your bones. That silence is not a meaningless void, and heaven has not turned its back on you in your exhaustion. In fact, it is precisely when you feel smallest and most powerless that the silence of eternity carries a meaning deeper than any words ever could. Look at the rhythm of life we are dragged through every single day. It is a relentless assault of noise and distraction. We live in an age where busyness is praised like a medal of honor, where stopping is treated as failure. Your mind is like a radio full of static, constantly receiving messages telling you to do more, achieve more, be stronger. When you bring that noise-filled mindset into the spiritual space, you expect a matching response, a thunderous voice, a powerful surge of emotion to drown out your fear. But heaven does not operate by the mechanics of this world. Eternity has its own rhythm, its own language of silence. And sometimes, extreme exhaustion numbs the hearing of the soul itself. You do not hear, not because nothing is being spoken, but because your ears have grown accustomed to the screams of anxiety. Imagine someone stepping out of a deafening rock concert, ears ringing, they cannot immediately hear the whisper of the wind through the leaves. Modern life is that concert, and your exhaustion is the lingering ringing. Do not blame yourself for feeling nothing. Sensitivity, spiritual and emotional, is a human capacity, and it has limits when the body and mind have reached their breaking point. In the ancient stories of faith, we often find that the greatest people also endured seasons of suffocating silence. There were moments when they cried out in deserts, stood face to face with death or crushing loneliness, and the sky remained an unbroken, silent blue. Why would a loving God remain silent while his creation groans under the weight of existence? There is a subtle truth here, as sometimes silence is the highest form of presence. When a child is sobbing in pain it cannot yet understand, a mother does not always need words. She simply sits there, holding a quiet space, letting her presence seep into the child's soul through warmth and steady breath. Too many words would only disturb. Heaven is the same. When life's burden grows too heavy, when your soul becomes too fragile to bear more, even the most powerful words could overwhelm you. In this moment, silence is protection. It is a wordless embrace, allowing you to rest without needing to respond, without needing to understand anything more. You are tired. And heaven knows that what you need right now is not more instruction, but space to let go. Fatigue dulls a person's ability to hear. It is a harsh reality, but one that must be accepted. When you are utterly exhausted, all of your energy is concentrated on basic survival, on finding the strength to take one more step, to simply make it through today. In that state, your spiritual senses draw inward to protect what lies at the core of you. You may feel dried out like a branch under the scorching summer sun, without a single drop of dew, without even a breath of wind. You look at the people around you and they seem full of spiritual vitality. You hear them speak about transcendent experiences, and you begin to feel like an outsider, a sinner, or someone who has been forgotten. But remember this, the silence you are experiencing may be a sign of a deeper connection than you realize. There is a kind of intimacy that does not need words. Two old friends can sit together for hours on a porch without speaking, yet their understanding of one another is deeper than thousands of books. Heaven is treating you like a kindred soul, one who is known so completely that no hollow words of comfort are necessary. That silence is respect for your pain. It allows you to be who you are, to be tired, to be weak, without judgment. Think about the moments when you feel the greatest pressure from family or work. That pressure often comes in the form of demands, questions, expectations. Have you finished yet? Why are you like this? You need to try harder. Those sounds, whether well-intentioned or not, all become weights placed on your shoulders. If heaven were to pour constant messages down on you while you are already exhausted, could you really endure it? The silence of heaven is, in truth, an invitation to be released from every expectation. It is the one place where you do not have to prove anything, where you do not need eloquent prayers, where you do not have to pretend that you are okay. That silence speaks to you, arrest. I am here. Nothing has changed. Your safety does not depend on how you feel right now. We often confuse emotion with reality. We assume that if we do not feel God, then He must not be present. But emotion is the most fragile thing in the world. It shifts with blood sugar levels, with the weather, with how much sleep you got last night. The reality of heaven is solid like a mountain of stone. It does not tremble just because you are too tired to see it clearly through the fog of exhaustion. Within that silence, a quiet healing is taking place. Just as a wound needs stillness to form new skin, your soul needs seasons of nothing at all in order to recover. If life is a sequence of relentless events, then spiritual silence is the rest between musical notes. Without rest, music is nothing but chaotic noise. Perhaps you are standing right in that pause. It feels long. It feels frightening, because you are so used to operating, to acting, to doing. Yet it is in this silence that false values are being washed away. You begin to realize that you still exist even when you do nothing, even when you feel nothing. You are loved not because of what you contribute or how fervent you are, but simply because you are a child of life itself. This exhaustion is stripping you of the heavy armor you built to survive the world, so that when only your bare and fragile self remains, you can finally touch true mercy, a mercy that requires no conditions and demands no immediate response. Do not blame yourself for the silence of the sky. Do not assume that heaven has grown distant because you prayed too little or made some mistake. Self-blame only adds more weight to shoulders that are already bowed. Accept this emptiness as part of the human journey. There are noisy seasons of planting, joyful seasons of harvest, and also long winters when everything seems lifeless beneath thick snow. The winter of your soul is not the end. It is preparation. Heaven grows silent so that you can hear the beating of your own heart, so that you can recognize your limits, and so that you can learn that, in the end, you were never meant to carry the weight of the world alone. When you loosen your grip, when you stop trying to control even your spiritual feelings, that is when silence begins to reveal its power. It is no longer the silence of absence, but the silence of a hand resting on your shoulder, waiting for you to fall into peaceful sleep after a long and violent storm. Allow yourself to be tired. Allow yourself to fall silent before the silence of heaven. There is nothing wrong with being unable to feel light or joy when life is crushing you under its weight. In fact, the simple fact that you are still standing, still existing even when you see no signs at all, is itself the highest form of courage. This is a faith that does not lean on emotion, a trust at its purest because it is not supported by any visible evidence. As you walk through this valley of shadow, heaven is not standing at the end of the road waiting for you. It is walking beside you in that absolute silence. Heaven is silent because it is carrying the burden with you. And when people are pouring all their strength into lifting something heavy, they usually do not talk. The silence of heaven when life grows unbearable is the deepest form of shared suffering you can receive, if you are brave enough to look beyond your fear. Do not search for explosive feelings. Search for rest within this very silence. Because there, in wordless stillness, you are fully accepted, with all your exhaustion, brokenness, and weakness. Heaven has never been closer to you than it is right now, in your heavy breathing and in the silence filling the room around you. We often assume that the presence of the divine must arrive with blazing light or overwhelming emotional highs. Yet in reality, that presence is sometimes hidden within the most extreme loneliness of human life. When you feel as though you are standing in a barren desert, where every prayer seems to be swallowed by wind and sand and not a single echo returns, that is the moment your soul is entering its harshest purification. This purification is not meant to punish your mistakes or weaknesses. It is a stripping away of illusions about personal strength, so that you can face the naked truth of your own limits. Look at the cracks in your soul, the places where pain has carved deep scars, and recognize this. It is through those very cracks that the gentle light of understanding is able to enter. The silence you are enduring is, in truth, a sacred space, a necessary emptiness where the loud and proud ego steps aside, making room for a deeper understanding of what it truly means to exist. In the moments when you feel utterly spent, when your hands no longer have the strength to cling to even the faintest hope, remember this: a letting go is not always failure. There is a kind of surrender that saves. It is the moment you stop fighting your own emotions, stop forcing yourself to appear strong, stop demanding meaning from every wound. You simply remain there, in your weakness, allowing yourself to be sheltered by the silence of the universe. Heaven does not ask you to be a warrior who never falls. Heaven only asks that you recognize this truth: even in your collapse, you are still fully loved. Imagine a child coming home after a long day of play and trouble, covered in scrapes and dirt. The child does not need to explain or apologize in order to be embraced by their parents. That love is not based on what the child has accomplished, but on the simple fact that the child belongs to them. You are the same. In the bone-deep weariness of life, you do not need to prove your worth through moral achievements or extraordinary spiritual effort. Your exhaustion itself is the most honest prayer, a wordless confession of your need for rest and understanding. When you have nothing left to give, when your soul seems to have exhausted every resource, that is when you are finally ready to receive. We are often so busy planting and building that we forget the land itself needs seasons of rest to restore its nutrients. Your soul is such a land. And the long silence you are experiencing is the necessary winter in which new life is being quietly prepared beneath the deep soil. Do not dig frantically for signs of life before spring arrives. Trust the natural law of healing. Healing does not take place in the noise of crowds or the brilliance of grand sermons. It happens in the quiet of darkness, where every spiritual cell within you is silently reconnecting to the source of life itself. Have you ever wondered why the most important moments of human life so often unfold in silence? The birth of a child, the sprouting of a seed, the formation of a great idea, all of them begin in complete stillness. So do not be afraid of the silence of heaven, for it may be the sign that something vast and profound is being prepared within you. That silence is not indifference, it is deep respect for your process of becoming. It is like a wise teacher standing quietly as a student struggles through a difficult problem, not because the teacher does not know the answer or refuses to help, but because the teacher understands that only by passing through the deadlock alone does the student truly make the knowledge their own. You are learning how to trust without seeing, how to love without being comforted, and these are the most precious lessons, lessons that only silence can teach. Look at the stars in the night sky. They seem distant and cold, yet their light has traveled millions of light years just to reach your eyes. Some graces from heaven are the same. They were sent long before you ever felt the need for them, and they will arrive at the exact moment when your heart has grown wide enough to receive them. The exhaustion you carry is not a barrier separating you from the sacred, it is the bridge leading you back to your truest self. When you are too tired to pretend, too tired to wear the masks of success or happiness, you become most real. And it is in that raw honesty that you meet the Creator. He is not searching for a perfected version of you. He is searching for you, right here, in your brokenness and fatigue. Allow yourself to lie down in the silence of the room, to listen to the steady rhythm of your own breathing, and to realize that every breath is a miracle, a gift you do not have to earn. Life is still flowing through you, even when you feel numb inside. That is the clearest proof that you have never been abandoned. Heaven is breathing with you, beating in rhythm with your heart, patiently waiting for you to recognize that peace is not found in solving every problem in life, but in accepting that you are loved in the midst of problems still unresolved. When you welcome the silence of heaven as a companion, fear begins to loosen its grip. You no longer have to strain yourself searching for signs or miracles, because you realize that your very existence is already the greatest miracle of all. The pressure to live correctly, to pray effectively, or to reach certain spiritual heights begins to fall away. You become lighter, like a dry leaf drifting along a stream, no longer struggling to decide where to go, because the water knows how to carry it back to the ocean. Your exhaustion then transforms into sacred rest, a complete surrender to a power greater than yourself. You will start to notice the beauty in the smallest things you once overlooked because you were too focused on distant goals: a thin beam of sunlight slipping through a crack in the door, the soft chirping of birds outside a quiet porch, the gentle comfort of a blanket resting on your body. All of these are whispers from heaven, reminding you that care is always present, it simply does not appear in the form you expected. Do not try to analyze or explain why life has brought you to this place. Human understanding is always limited when faced with the vast designs of the universe. Instead, feel with your heart. Feel your pain without judgment. Feel your loneliness without running away. When you face your pain and exhaustion directly, you will discover that they are not as terrifying as you imagined. They are only dark clouds passing briefly before the sun, and the sun has never moved, never weakened. The silence of heaven is an invitation to go inward, to explore the endless treasure of stillness at the deepest center of your being, a place no storm of life can reach. There, you will find a new kind of strength, and not the strength of muscle or iron will, but the strength of gentleness and patience. You will learn how to smile gently at your own sadness, how to cherish your vulnerability as an essential part of human beauty. Remember this: the most beautiful paintings always need shadows to make the light stand out, and your life, too, is a work of art still in the process of becoming. The fatigue and silence you are experiencing now are the deep, muted tones that will one day give your soul its depth and resonance. When you pass through this season, you will no longer be the person you once were. You will be more compassionate toward yourself and toward others, because you will understand what it feels like to stand in the darkness while waiting for dawn. You will know how to listen to the quiet cries of those around you, because you have lived through a similar silence yourself. Your exhaustion is not wasted. It is shaping you into someone capable of deeper empathy, someone who can bring comfort not through empty words, but through a calm, understanding presence. Do not rush to escape this state. Each day within the silence carries its own lesson. Allow yourself to melt into the stillness of the night, letting your weariness be washed clean by the slow flow of time. Heaven never sleeps, it is simply at work in ways unseen by ordinary eyes. Trust that even when you feel nothing, a quiet and miraculous transformation is taking place in the deepest layers of your consciousness. You are being strengthened, renewed, and prepared for a new chapter of life, one in which the light will shine more brightly after long days of darkness. The silence of heaven is a wordless love song, written especially for weary souls, reminding them that they are cherished not for what they do, but for the simple fact that they exist in this world. Take a deep breath and exhale all your worries, allowing the stillness to wrap around you like a warm embrace. You are not alone. You have never been alone, even when the whole world seems to have turned away and the sky offers no reply. Your presence right now, tired and worn as it may be, is a powerful testament to the resilient life that heaven has placed within you. Rest. Be silent. Trust that everything will be all right, in a way more beautiful than you have ever dared to imagine. For in the end, silence is not the end of a dialogue, but the beginning of a deeper communion, where words are no longer needed and only the meeting of the human heart with the vast rhythm of the universe remains. You are exactly where you need to be, living through exactly what you need to live through in order to become the truest version of yourself. Do not fear emptiness, for only when you are empty can you be filled with something greater. Your exhaustion is a gift, a reminder that you are a sensitive and loving being, and that you deserve to rest in the arms of eternity. Let this silence nourish you. Let it whisper into your ears the secrets of a peace the world cannot give. And when you awaken from this long sleep of the soul, you will see the world as brighter, not because circumstances have changed, but because your eyes have been cleansed by stillness and your heart has been warmed by heaven's unconditional love. This silence is the preparation for tomorrow's song of joy, a song rising from a soul that has endured hardship and found true freedom through complete surrender. be patient with yourself, as heaven is patient with you. Do not force yourself to find an escape right away, because sometimes the only way out is to go straight through the exhaustion, through the silence, and through the doubts that surround you. Every step you take in the darkness is seen. Every quiet tear is treasured. You are being guided by an invisible yet immensely powerful hand, a hand that never lets go, even when you do. Take comfort in this truth: you do not need to be perfect to be loved, and you do not need to be strong to be upheld. Heaven loves you in this very exhaustion, in this very silence, and in the truest version of who you are right now. That fatigue is not the end of your journey. It is a necessary resting place where you can regain your strength and realize that true energy does not come from personal effort alone, but from reconnecting with the sacred source. When you stop trying to save yourself, that is when you allow heaven to do its work. Trust this process. Trust the silence of the sky. Trust the endurance of your own soul. You are stronger than you think, not because you can endure everything, but because you have the courage to admit that you are tired and in need of help. That is holy humility. It is the key that opens the door to boundless mercy. Let this stillness become a gentle hymn, soothing the wounds of your heart and bringing calm to your restless mind. In this quiet space, you will discover that every question holds an answer, every pain carries comfort, and every silence contains an infinite, boundless love. Heaven is here, right in your fatigue, right in your silence, right in your fragile breathing. It is not far away beyond the clouds. It is here in this very room, facing the darkness with you, waiting with you for the dawn slowly rising on the distant horizon. Allow yourself to rest. You have fought a long battle, and now it is time to let the sacred care for you. The silence of heaven is not a test. It is a caress, an invitation to lay down every burden and find peace within your own being. You are part of the universe, and the universe never abandons a part of itself. Believe this, even when every sense within you argues otherwise. For true faith is not seeing in order to believe, but believing in order to see the miracles hidden behind the veil of visible reality. Your fatigue will pass. The silence will one day be replaced by gentle melodies. But the lesson of surrender and courage in the darkness will remain forever, carried with you throughout the rest of your life's journey. Cherish this moment, the moment of truth and absolute stillness, where you and heaven become one in an understanding beyond words. Everything will be all right, because you are being held by a love greater than anything you could ever imagine. Allow yourself to be tired. Allow yourself to be silent. Allow yourself to be loved completely in the arms of eternity. Life may be heavy, but you are not carrying it alone. Heaven is carrying it with you, in its deep and powerful silence. Do not search for answers outside yourself. Search instead for rest within, where heaven dwells and waits for you to recognize its presence. You are more precious than you think, and your fatigue is proof of a soul that has lived fully, loved fully, and is now finding its way back to the source of peace. Smile at the silence, for it is the language of the highest love, a love that does not need proof, does not make demands, but simply exists and embraces all things. You are safe. You are loved. You are being guided toward the light, even when you feel you are sinking into the deepest darkness. Trust. Rest. And allow the silence of heaven to complete its saving work within your soul. All fatigue will turn into strength. All silence will become song. And you will rise again, stronger than ever, from the ashes of this exhaustion. Heaven has always been there, in every beat of your weary heart, silent, yet immensely powerful. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will have its own graces. Today, simply allow yourself to be a tired child in the arms of divine parents, needing to do nothing, needing to say nothing, only to be present and feel peace slowly flowing into every corner of your soul. This is true rest, the deepest connection a human being can reach with the Creator. You do not need to go anywhere else to find heaven, because heaven is already here, within the very fatigue and silence you are experiencing. Receive it as a precious gift, an opportunity to be fully yourself, without decoration, without forcing anything. And in that honesty, you will find the strength to continue the journey, with a heart full of hope and a soul refined by the stillness of the sky. This fatigue is not a sign of weakness. It is the sign of a soul that is growing, expanding, making room for more light. Let the silence of heaven wrap around you, sheltering you from the noise of the world, so you can hear the voice of truth echoing from deep within. You are loved. You are cared for. You are being prepared for the very best. Trust that. Rest in that. And allow this stillness to heal every wound you carry. Heaven is not silent because it is absent, but because it is too close, so close that words become unnecessary. Savor this sacred closeness, and let your soul rise on the wings of surrender and absolute trust in a love that never fades. You are a child of the light, and that light will never allow you to remain lost in darkness for long. Today's fatigue is the foundation of tomorrow's radiance. Be patient. Trust. And allow the silence of heaven to guide you home, to the place where peace is eternal and love is the breath of all creation. You are on the right path, even when you feel as though you are standing still. Silence itself is the deepest spiritual movement, drawing you closer to your true self and to the source of all life. Allow yourself to be tired, because in that fatigue, you find heaven. When you accept fatigue as an inevitable part of being human and allow the silence of heaven to soothe the wounds of your heart, you begin to realize that life is not a relentless pursuit of perfection, but a journey of learning how to let go in order to receive what is eternal. We often believe we must carry the whole world on our shoulders, solve every problem, and always appear strong before others. Yet in truth, heaven only truly touches us when we dare to acknowledge our own limits. This acknowledgement is not failure. It is the greatest liberation a soul can experience in this temporary world. Imagine yourself as a river that has flowed through countless rapids and dangerous bends, carrying both fertile silt and the debris of life. And now, as that river pours into the vast ocean, it no longer needs to strain to preserve its old form. It dissolves into the sea, not to disappear, but to become immeasurably wider and deeper than ever before. That is the state to which fatigue leads you, if you learn to listen to its quiet voice. Do not fight exhaustion. When you resist it, you only intensify the tension and build a wall between yourself and the healing energy of the universe. Allow yourself to melt, to soften, to return to the original state of a being in need of care. In that deepest vulnerability, a new kind of strength is born, not the strength of muscles or iron will, but the strength that comes from complete harmony with the flow of life. You will discover that when you stop trying to control everything, everything begins to arrange itself in the most harmonious way. Heaven never abandons those who place their trust in silence. That silence holds the answers to questions your intellect has long been unable to resolve. It is not an empty void, but a fullness of unrealized potential. When you grow silent, you allow the most delicate vibrations of your soul to speak. You begin to notice beauty in the simplest things, a drop of dew on a leaf, a gentle breeze passing through your hair, or a look of quiet compassion from a stranger. All of these are messengers sent from heaven to remind you that you are loved unconditionally. Your fatigue now becomes a unique lens, filtering out the false noise of fame, wealth, and social pressure, leaving behind only what is truly essential and real. You begin to realize that you do not need to be anyone else, nor do you need to meet the harsh standards of the world in order to have worth. Your value lies in this very breath, in this very presence, and in your ability to feel deeply the full range of pain and sorrow. Look closely at your fatigue, and you will see that it is like a strict yet compassionate teacher. It forces you to stop when you are rushing too fast into the darkness of uncertainty. It compels you to look back at what you have missed in life's endless race. And in that moment of stillness, you catch the gaze of heaven resting upon you with complete tenderness. There is a quiet miracle here, and the more exhausted we become, the easier it is to let go of our proud ego. That ego is always trying to prove itself, always trying to possess, always afraid of being forgotten. But when the body and mind are utterly worn out, the ego no longer has the strength to hold up the masks it worked so hard to build. When the masks fall away, the true face of the soul is revealed, more radiant and pure than anything you could have imagined. This is the moment you touch your divine essence, a place where there is no distinction between success and failure, between joy and sorrow, only an absolute peace flowing through every corner of reality. The silence of heaven is no longer a distant idea, it becomes a living presence, wrapping around you like a warm cocoon, protecting you from inner storms. You can feel the pulse of the universe within your own heartbeat, a rhythm that is steady, patient, and full of hope. Do not be afraid if you feel as though you are sinking into the darkness of exhaustion. It is precisely in the deepest soil that a seed must break open in order to rise toward the light. Your fatigue is that breaking open, a necessary pain so that a new life can begin. Trust that every tear you shed in silence is treasured by heaven and transformed into precious gems within your spiritual treasury. No effort is wasted, and no pain is meaningless if it leads you back to the truth of who you are. You are learning to love yourself in an entirely new way, not for what you achieve, but for who you are. This self-compassion is the key that opens the gates of heaven right here on earth. When you learn to be gentle with your own fatigue, you will naturally become gentle with the pain of others. The world needs souls who have walked through the valley of exhaustion and returned with eyes full of understanding. You become a quiet lighthouse, not shining through loud words or rigid doctrines, but through the peace that radiates from a soul healed by sacred silence. Let time pass. Do not rush to escape this state. There are lessons that only slowness can teach. There are certain kinds of beauty that only weary eyes can truly see. Heaven is whispering to you through the cracks of collapse, reminding you that life is a gift, not a task. Receive that gift by allowing yourself to rest deeply. Let your sleep be an act of complete surrender, a place where you place every worry into the hands of the Creator. And when you awaken, welcome the new day with the posture of one who has died and risen again through silence. Each day is an opportunity to begin anew, with a lighter heart and a wider vision. You will discover that the pressures that once left you breathless are now only gentle ripples on the surface of your inner lake. You have learned how to stand upon those movements, not by resisting them, but by flowing with them, anchored in an unshakable trust that everything is unfolding according to a perfect design of love. Fatigue has fulfilled its role as a guide, leading you to the threshold of awakening to the value of silence. Now you no longer fear silence. Instead, you long for it the way a traveler longs for cool water in the desert. In that silence, you find true freedom, freedom from judgment, from endless expectations, and from the chains you unknowingly placed upon yourself for so long. You come to understand that heaven is not a geographic destination, but a state of the soul, a place where weariness and peace can coexist in a harmonious dance of life. Keep walking forward, or remain still if that is what you need, because wherever you are, the light of heaven continues to surround you. You are an inseparable part of this vast whole, and your fatigue is as sacred as the stars scattered across the night sky. Honor it. Embrace it. Let it guide you back to the source of eternal love, where all weariness dissolves and only the radiant presence of truth remains. When you look back on the road you have traveled, you will see that the moments you felt most depleted were the moments you were closest to heaven. This is the beautiful paradox of the spiritual life, where loss becomes fullness, and weakness becomes an indestructible strength. Silence is no longer the absence of sound, but the full presence of meaning. You no longer need to search for heaven in distant places or extraordinary experiences, because you now recognize that heaven is breathing through your lungs, seeing through your eyes, and loving through your heart. Every moment of fatigue has become an invitation to return to the miraculous reality of now, to release the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future. You live fully in this sacred present, where the silence of the sky and the silence of the earth meet within your soul. Allow this peace to soak into every cell, healing wounds buried deep within the subconscious. You deserve rest. You deserve love. You deserve every grace heaven pours out upon its children. Do not let the noise of the world distract you from this truth. Guard the stillness within you as an invaluable treasure, for it is there that you meet the Creator and discover the answer to the meaning of existence itself. Your fatigue is a wordless prayer, and heaven has answered it with the sweetest silence. Let that sweetness nourish you, renew you, and give you strength for the long journey ahead. You are not alone. In every weary step you take, an entire heaven walks with you. Smile gently at your fatigue, for it has led you home, to the peace that has belonged to you since the very beginning. This stillness will never disappear. It is the foundation of all existence, the final resting place of every soul that longs for truth. Allow yourself to be held in the arms of the infinite, and feel redemption unfolding right now, within the silence of heaven and within your own fatigue. You have completed a difficult journey to arrive here, to reach this deep awareness, and that is the greatest achievement a human being can attain. Now, rest in contentment, knowing that no matter how many trials life throws your way, you will always have a place of refuge to return to, a silent heaven, ever ready to receive you and to heal you. This fatigue is the bridge, the doorway, the path that leads you toward eternity. Love it as you love life itself, for without it, you would never understand the true value of peace. The silence of heaven is not punishment, nor indifference. It is absolute respect for your journey of growth. Heaven knows you need space to discover your inner strength for yourself, to uncover the light hidden beneath the ashes of exhaustion. When you fall silent, you stop struggling against fate and begin to cooperate with it. You come to see that every event, whether painful or draining, is a necessary piece in the larger picture of a great soul being formed. Look at the scars left by fatigue on your soul and see them shining like the honors of a warrior of light. You have fought, not to defeat others, but to overcome the darkness of ignorance and separation within yourself. The silence of heaven is the reward for those who dare to face emptiness without fear, for those who know that behind that silence lies a vast, boundless love, always ready to lift them when they fall. Let this fatigue soften your heart, so you can feel the pain of the world and send out vibrations of compassion. When you are tired, you become more real, more sincere, closer to the essence of all things. You no longer need to prove anything. You simply exist, as living testimony to the power of perseverance and faith. Heaven is smiling at you through the last rays of sunset, through the birdsong of morning, and even through the stillness of the dark night. All of it is telling you that everything will be all right, that you are being protected, and that this fatigue is only a brief moment on the path toward eternity. Take a deep breath and feel the sacred air filling your chest, refreshing your soul and washing away the dust of the world. You are a free soul, not bound by any burden if you choose to release it into the silence of heaven. Let this rest become a sacred ritual, a meeting place between the human and the divine. You are being reborn in every moment of stillness, with new vitality, new vision, and a renewed love for life itself. Never doubt the value of your weary moments, for they are the very times when you are gathering strength for profound spiritual leaps. Heaven is always beside you, silent and patient, waiting for you to realize that you and heaven are one. This silence is the language of unity, where the separate self dissolves to make room for the greater self. You no longer see yourself as small and alone in an immense universe, instead, you recognize yourself as the universe itself, experiencing fatigue through a human form. This awareness brings a deep joy, a peace that nothing can shake. Whatever tomorrow may bring, you now know how to face it with the stillness of a soul that has found its harbor. Fatigue is no longer a burden, it becomes a gentle reminder of heaven's presence in every breath you take. Allow yourself to sink into this silence, letting every worry fade like mist beneath the morning sun. You are loved. You are guided. You are being healed by an infinite power that only silence can fully express. Trust your journey. Trust your fatigue. And above all, trust the silence of heaven. It is where every journey begins, and where every journey ultimately ends, in eternal peace. You are part of that sacred reality, an indispensable piece in the great design of love. Rest now, weary soul, for heaven is watching over your sleep and will awaken you with the light of a new day filled with hope. The silence of heaven is the surest promise that it will never leave you, neither in your darkest hours nor in the moments when you feel completely exhausted. Receive this silence as a warm embrace from the Creator, and let it guide you back to your truest self, where fatigue becomes strength and stillness becomes the triumphant song of life. You have traveled a long road, and now, in the silence of heaven, you find true rest, the rest of a soul that has finally found itself. Let this peace flow outward into the world, beginning in your own heart, so that all weariness everywhere may find its way back to its own silent heaven. You are light. You are love. You are this sacred stillness. Be yourself, both in fatigue and in peace, for that is how you honor heaven and the great life flowing within you. Let the silence of heaven be the closing word to every pain and the opening of a new chapter of freedom and genuine happiness. You are home, right here, in this very fatigue, where heaven has always been present, waiting to love you without end. Your weariness has finally brought you exactly where you need to be, where every question finds its answer in absolute stillness. Savor this quiet, for it is the most precious gift life offers to those brave enough to journey to the depths of exhaustion. Heaven is never silent without purpose. It is silent so you can hear yourself, and when you truly hear yourself, you also hear the call of heaven. Let this meeting give meaning to your existence, and let today's fatigue become tomorrow's quiet pride. You are a child of heaven, and this silence is the language of divine parental love spoken over you. Be at peace. Rest. Love yourself within the vast stillness of the sky. All weariness now fades into a gentle memory beneath the radiant light of awakening. You are home.